East Coast munchies.
Let's make delicious deep dish pizza dough. You're going to start with 1 cup of warm water and add in 1.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast. I then like to add a big old spoonful of honey. Regular's fine. This is raw and unfiltered. Whatever you have will do just fine. You're going to mix this thoroughly and wait about 10 minutes and just make sure you see some activity. A little bit of bubbles or frothiness is all you want to see, just to make sure your yeast is still active. I then add about 1/3 cup of olive oil to the mix, and then 1 cup of whole milk. Then you can think about what kind of flour you want to use. You can totally use all-purpose if that's what you got. Here I'm using 2 cups of superfine 00 flour and 2 cups of a nice organic whole wheat flour, which definitely gives it a nice wheaty flavor. So if you're not into that, I'd leave that out and just go with all-purpose. You can also add in 2 teaspoons of salt around this stage. Now you're going to start mixing. I like to just move everything around in the bowl with my hand and let everything soak up all the liquid. And eventually it'll thicken up, but it still will be sticky. At this point, grab 1 more cup of your flour of choice, and then sprinkle some in and start kneading it just until it comes together enough where you can pick it up out of the bowl. Then you can slap it on the table, add a little bit more of your cup of flour, and just start kneading it into the dough. You want to add just enough so the dough can come together into a ball, but still be a wetter, stickier dough. This also gives you the extra time to work the dough and get any extra kneading in you can. And after about 10 minutes, you'll have a beautiful piece of dough. Then you can grab a bowl, coat it in olive oil, toss your dough in it, and then sprinkle the top of your dough with some olive oil and make sure it's all fully coated. Then cover the bowl with saran wrap or a damp towel, leave it out for half an hour, and then put it in the fridge overnight. You'll then have a nice bubbly piece of dough like this that's at least doubled its size. Then, on a lightly floured surface, I like to cut the dough in half. These are very, very thick doughs if you're going to do a deep dish in a cast iron pan. But you can easily cut this into 3 pieces and still get a super thick crust. You'll then pick your doughs up and fold the corners up underneath into the middle, and just slowly turn and tighten, pinching the bottom together until it tightens up and becomes a sphere. Then you can set these aside on an oiled tray with a warm damp cloth over them until you're ready to use them. Then grab your deepest cast iron and a healthy serving of olive oil and coat the entire thing. And if you happen to have a thing of cornmeal at home, I highly suggest using a good handful of it in the pan as well. It really helps to keep your dough from sticking. Then you'll want to take your dough sphere and smash it into a little bit more of a circle. Lay it in your pan and push it out with your fingers to the edges. You'll want to rise the crust up just a little bit, almost like a pie, while smushing everything down into the corners and creases until it fully fits your pan. Once it keeps shape in your pan, you can start by adding some sauce. You can just use canned ground peeled tomatoes. They're fresh and delicious. But if you really want to step up your sauce game, I'll leave a card up top on how I make some delicious, super flavorful pizza sauce. But whatever you use, make sure to spread it all over this thing. I know it feels wrong, but cover the whole crust with sauce. Make sure it's all the way out to the edges, and make sure there's no dough unsauced. You'll then want to put this over medium-high heat for about a good 10 minutes. This part kind of takes some practice to not burn the bottom, but to get it nice and crispy. You'll just have to watch from the top and see the dough rise. And once you can see it's fully risen, I give it an extra minute or two, and then usually take it off the heat. Now you can add your toppings. I used a good healthy amount of Parmesan cheese here. Feel free to use whatever kind of cheese you want. All cheese is good cheese in my opinion. Then a healthy sprinkle of goat cheese crumbles. You could also use some dollops of ricotta if you wanted. Then a healthy serving of thinly sliced white onion. Then you can throw this in the oven at 450 for a good 10 minutes. And while that's in the oven, I'm going to prepare a little spinach to put on top with a little bit of olive oil and some salt and pepper. And I'm going to mix it thoroughly to make sure all the spinach is nice and wet and seasoned. Not only does it help flavor your spinach, but it also helps keep it from burning on top of your pizza when you put it back in the oven. Then you'll take your pie back out of the oven, sprinkle that spinach all over the top of it, and then put it back in the oven for another 5 minutes. After that, it'll wilt up and shrink and look like this. And if you used enough oil and cornmeal, it should slide out of the pan just like that. And you'll have yourself a delicious deep dish pizza. No matter what kind of toppings you used on this, it'll be great. You really just want to look for that nice crispy bottom and super thick fluffy center. I hope you enjoy this video and enjoy any pizzas you try to make. Let me know in the comments how they turn out. Give the video a like if you like pizza, and subscribe for more recipes.